The explosion came without warning. Captain was drinking her morning tea when the ship shook so hard that she fell from her chair. The hot liquid spilled across the floor. Alarm lights turned the bridge red. A terrible sound filled her ears, the sound of metal breaking apart. "Report," she shouted as she pulled herself up. Her young navigator was already at his station. His small hands moved quickly across the controls. His large eyes were wide with fear. Like all, he stood only 3 feet tall, with soft gray fur and long ears that now pressed flat against his head. "The main reactor," he said. His voice was shaking. "It's gone, Captain, complete failure." His heart dropped. A heart was small, but right now it felt like a heavy stone in her chest. She pressed a button on her chair. "Bora, talk to me." The voice of her chief engineer came through the speaker. It was filled with static and panic. "Captain, I don't know what happened. The reactor just collapsed. We're running on emergency power only. Life support is at minimum." "How long do we have?" There was a pause. Could hear Bora checking her instruments. When the engineer spoke again, her voice was quiet. 40 hours, maybe less." Closed her eyes. They were in the outer edge of the nebula, far from any trade routes, far from help. The mining company had sent them here to collect rare minerals. Now those same minerals sat in the cargo bay while her crew slowly ran out of air. She opened her eyes and looked at. "Send a distress signal, all frequencies, someone has to hear us." Nodded and turned to his console. His fingers danced across the buttons. The distress beacon activated, sending their location into the void. The hours passed slowly. Walked through the ship, checking on her crew. There were 23 aboard, including 4 children. The children did not understand what was happening. Their parents tried to keep them calm with games and stories, but saw the fear in the adults' eyes. The ship grew colder. Bora had reduced heating to save power. The crew wrapped themselves in blankets and huddled together. Were not made for cold. Their home world was warm and gentle. This was why they were called a soft species by others in the galaxy. 12 hours passed, then 20, no response to their distress call. Sat on the bridge with, neither of them spoke. What was there to say? They were going to die here in the dark between stars, and no one would ever know what happened to them. Then's console made a sound. He jumped in his seat and stared at the screen. "Captain, we have a response." Hopefield's chest. "Who is it? The mining company, a patrol ship." His fingers moved across the controls. He pulled up the signal information. As he read it, the color drained from his face. His ears went completely flat. His hands began to shake. "What is wrong?" The young navigator looked at her. His eyes were wet with tears. "Captain, I made a mistake. When I sent the distress call, I used all frequencies, including the restricted band." Felt ice in her veins. "Which restricted band?" "Sector 7G." The words hung in the air like poison. "Sector 7G, human-controlled space." Grabbed the arms of her chair. Every child grew up hearing stories about humans. The monsters from a planet so dangerous that nothing should have survived there. But somehow, they did. They evolved in a place filled with poison, disease, giant predators, and natural disasters, and it made them into something terrible. Humans were huge, over 6 feet tall. They had forward-facing eyes like predators. They could run for hours without stopping. They could survive injuries that would kill any other species. They ate the flesh of animals. Some stories said they ate other species too. The Galactic Council kept human space clearly marked. All ships were warned to never enter, never make contact. They were too dangerous. And now they were coming. "How long until they arrive?" asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Check the signal. They say 3 hours." Stood up, her legs felt weak. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were moving toward them at incredible speed, coming to find them. "What do we do?" asked. Did not answer. What could they do? They had no weapons. Their engines were dead. They could not run. They could not hide. They could only wait. She thought about the children on board, the families, her crew who trusted her to keep them safe, and now she had to tell them that monsters were coming. "Call everyone to the main hall," she said finally. "They need to know." The announcement caused panic. Several crew members cried. Others held their children close and prayed to old gods. One engineer suggested they shut off life support now to die peacefully before the humans arrived. Refused. While there was life, there was hope, even if that hope was small. The 3 hours felt like 3 years. Then the proximity alarm sounded. His voice came through the ship's speakers. 3 vessels dropping out of hyperspace. Their huge, military design, heavy armor. Stood in the main hall with her crew. Everyone was silent. Everyone was terrified. The smallest children hid behind their parents' legs. The communication system crackled. Then a voice spoke, deep, strange, speaking through a translator. "Vessel Gentle Current, this is Commander Park of the Human Rescue Fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Please respond." "Help," the monster said, "help." Walked slowly to the communication panel. Her hand was shaking as she pressed the button. "This is Captain. We hear you." "Captain, our scans show your life support is failing. We request permission to board and assist with repairs. We have medical and engineering teams ready." Looked at her crew. Their faces were pale with fear, but what choice did they have? Die slowly from cold and lack of air, or take a chance with the "Permission granted," she said. She released the button and turned to her crew. "May the stars protect us," she whispered. "The humans are coming aboard." The airlock door hissed open, and the humans stepped inside. Had positioned herself at the front of the group. A captain should face danger first. Behind her, the crew pressed against the far wall, holding their children, trying to make themselves as small as possible. The first human through the door was enormous. Had heard the stories, but seeing it in person was different. The creature stood over 6 feet tall, covered in thick armor the color of dark metal. Its helmet had a clear faceplate, but the light reflected off it, hiding the face beneath. Heavy boots made the floor shake with each step. 2 more followed, then 3 more. 6 humans in total, each one a giant, each one carrying equipment that did not recognize. The lead human stopped a few feet from. It looked down at her. She felt like a small animal facing a predator. Then the human did something unexpected. It slowly raised its hands, showing empty palms, a gesture of peace. "Captain," the voice came through a speaker in the helmet. It was female, which surprised somehow. "I am Commander Park. Thank you for allowing us aboard." Tried to speak, but her throat was dry. She swallowed and tried again. You said you are here to help." "Yes." The human nodded, a movement that looked strange coming from such a large creature. "We received your distress signal. Our fleet was the closest to your position. We came as fast as we could." "Why?" The question escaped before could stop it. She saw the human tilt its head slightly. "Why?" Commander Park repeated. "Why would you help us? What do you want from us?" There was a pause. Then Commander Park reached up and did something to her helmet. There was a click, a hiss, and she lifted it off her head. Several gasped. One crew member fainted. The face beneath the helmet was strange but not monstrous. Smooth skin the color of light sand. Dark hair pulled back tightly. 2 eyes that were brown and soft, looking at with an expression that seemed almost concerned. "We help because you need help," Commander Park said simply. "We don't want anything from you. You sent a distress signal. We answered." Did not know what to say. This was not what the stories told her. Where were the fangs, the claws, the hunger for flesh? Commander Park turned and gestured to her team. "Lieutenant, begin medical assessment. Sergeant, check the reactor and life support. Everyone else, help where needed." The humans moved with smooth efficiency. They spread through the ship, their heavy footsteps echoing through the corridors. The crew pressed themselves against walls as the giants passed. One human approached. He was even larger than Commander Park, with shoulders as wide as a door. He removed his helmet, showing a young face with kind eyes. "Captain, I'm Lieutenant Medical Officer," he said. His voice was gentle, almost soft. "Are there any injured crew members?" Blinked at him. His expression was patient. He waited for her answer without pushing. Some minor injuries from the explosion," she managed. "Cuts, burns. Can you show me where they are?" She nodded slowly and led him toward the sleeping quarters. As they walked, noticed how carefully he moved. For such a large creature, he was trying hard not to seem threatening. He kept his hands visible. He maintained distance. When a young child peeked out from behind a door, smiled and waved at her gently. The child screamed and ran away. Smile faded. For a moment saw something in his eyes, sadness perhaps, or disappointment. "Your people are very afraid of us," he said quietly. Did not deny it. "We have heard stories." "What kind of stories?" She hesitated. "How do you tell someone that their entire species is considered monsters? Stories about your world, how dangerous it is, how dangerous you are." Nodded slowly. "Earth is dangerous, yes, but that doesn't make us dangerous to you." He looked at her with those strange, soft eyes. "We came to help, Captain, nothing more." In the engine room, Sergeant was already working with Bora. The engineer stood as far from the human as possible while still being able to see the reactor. Had removed her gloves. Her bare hands moved through the damaged machinery without hesitation. The temperature in the engine room was dangerously high, high enough to cause serious discomfort for any, but seemed unbothered. "This is impressive," said, studying the damage. "You've kept life support running with almost nothing. Good work." Bora stared at her. You understand our technology." "Engineering is engineering. The principles are the same across species," pointed at a melted component. "This is your problem. The main power coupling exploded. It took out your secondary systems too. Can you fix it?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled a device from her belt and began scanning. "Not completely, but I can get you enough power to reach a station. Maybe 10 hours of full life support." Bora's ears perked up. "You can do this." "I'll need to work in the reactor chamber. It's hot in there. Radiation too." Looked at her. "You should stay here where it's safe." Before Bora could respond, walked toward the reactor chamber. She opened the door and a wave of heat rolled out. The radiation warning on the wall flashed red. Any who entered would be dead within minutes. Stepped inside without hesitation. Back in the main hall, Commander Park was organizing the rescue operation. She spoke through her communication device, coordinating with the ships outside. Supplies were being transported over: food, water, medical equipment, power cells. Watched her carefully. The human commander was efficient and calm. She treated the situation like a problem to be solved, not an opportunity to exploit. "Commander," said, approaching slowly, "may I ask a question?" Park looked at her. "Of course." "Your ships, they are military vessels. You are soldiers." "We are." "Yet you came for a rescue mission. Why would military ships answer a distress call?" Commander Park's expression softened slightly. "In the human fleet, every ship is trained for rescue operations. It's part of who we are. When someone needs help, we help. Soldier or civilian, it doesn't matter. Even strangers, even species you have never met. Especially strangers." Park looked at the frightened crew huddled in the corner. "Especially those who are afraid." There was a noise from the corridor, a scream, a child's scream. Every human in the room turned toward the sound. Commander Park was already moving, running toward the source with speed that seemed impossible for her size. Followed, her small legs struggling to keep up. They found Lieutenant in the cargo bay. He was kneeling on the ground, his hands raised in a peaceful gesture. In front of him, pressed into a corner, was a small child. It was realized, a young girl who had lost her parents in the explosion. She had been hiding in the cargo bay for hours, alone and scared. Now she was injured. Her arm hung at a wrong angle, clearly broken. Blood matted her gray fur, and she was looking at like he was death itself. "It's okay," said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you, I want to help." Screamed again. Tears streamed down her small face. Did not move closer. He stayed where he was, patient and still. Then, slowly, he reached up and removed his helmet. He set it on the ground. "See," he said gently. "Just a face, just a person, no fangs, no claws." "Stop screaming." She stared at him with wide, wet eyes. "Your arm is hurt," continued. "I can fix it. I can make the pain stop, but you have to let me help you. Can you do that?" The child looked at, seeking guidance. His heart was pounding. Everything she had been taught told her to grab the child and run, but something else, something deeper, told her to trust. "It's okay," she said. "Let him help." Slowly, so slowly, lowered her good arm and nodded. Smiled warmly. "Thank you for being brave." He moved forward, and for the first time allowed a human to touch them. Worked on his arm with hands that seemed too large to be gentle. But they were. Watched from a few feet away as the human medic cleaned the wound, set the broken bone, and wrapped it in a special material that hardened into a perfect cast. Had stopped crying. She was still scared, could see it in the way her ears pressed flat, but she was also watching with growing curiosity. "What is that?" she asked, pointing at the cast with her good hand. "It's called a bone stabilizer," explained patiently. "It will keep your arm still while it heals. In a few weeks your bone will be strong again." "Medicine cannot do this," said. Smiled. "Every species has different strengths. We've had a lot of practice fixing broken bones. Humans break them quite often." "You hurt yourselves." "Sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose." His eyes went wide. "On purpose." Laughed, a warm, rumbling sound. "We have games and sports. Sometimes we get hurt playing them, but we heal fast." Found herself fascinated. The monster from the stories was sitting on the floor of her cargo bay, talking to a child about games. He did not look like a monster. He looked like a tired young man who genuinely wanted to help. "All done," said, finishing the cast. "You were very brave." The child examined her arm. The pain was clearly less, her face had relaxed, and her ears were starting to lift. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You're welcome." As stood up, his communication device beeped. "Lieutenant, this is. I could use some help in the reactor room. Some of these repairs need 2 people." "I'll be there soon." He looked at, "Will you be okay?" The child nodded. Then, surprising everyone, she reached out and grabbed his large finger with her tiny hand. "Will you come back?" His expression softened. "I promise." He walked toward the engine room and watched him go. Approached the child carefully. "How do you feel?" "My arm doesn't hurt anymore." Looked up at her. "Captain, he was nice to me. The story said humans are mean." "I know what the story said." "Were the stories wrong?" Did not know how to answer. In the engine room, the temperature had become deadly. Had been working inside the reactor chamber for over an hour. Any would have died 10 times over. But the human engineer kept going, her movements steady and precise. Bora watched through the observation window. She had never seen anything like it. Arrived and entered the chamber to join. Together, they lifted components that weighed hundreds of pounds. They worked in radiation that would cook organs. They sweated and strained, but they did not stop. "How is this possible?" Bora asked through the communication system. "The heat alone should kill you." His voice came back, slightly strained from effort. "Humans evolved in harsh conditions. Our bodies are built to survive extremes. High heat, cold, radiation. We can handle more than most species." "But why would you evolve this way?" Our planet made us this way. Earth is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. Storms that cover entire continents, animals with teeth and claws, diseases that kill millions. We had to become strong or we would have died out long ago. Bora was silent, processing this information. The home world was gentle. Warm breezes, soft rain, no predators larger than a small dog. They had evolved to be small, peaceful, and cooperative. The idea of a world that forged its creatures through violence and hardship was almost impossible to imagine. There, said finally, that should do it. She and exited the reactor chamber. Both were covered in sweat and soot, had a burn on his arm that looked painful, but he ignored it. The lights on the ship flickered once, then stabilized. The hum of the engines grew stronger. Life support readings on the wall began to climb. Bora stared at the display in disbelief. You fixed it. Temporarily, said, wiping her face. You have about 12 hours of full power now, enough to reach the nearest station. 12 hours, Bora's voice cracked. You saved us. Shrugged like it was nothing. That's why we came. Throughout the ship, the crew began to notice the changes. The air was warming. The lights were brighter. The cold that had crept into their bones was fatting away. A young crew member named approached one of the human soldiers, a large man named Private O who was helping distribute supplies. She looked up at him with cautious eyes. Is it true, she asked, are we going to live? Looked down at her and smiled. Yes, you're going to be fine. Burst into tears. Before could react, she rushed forward and hugged his leg, the only part of him she could reach. The giant soldier stood frozen for a moment, unsure what to do. Then slowly, he patted her head with his huge hand. It's okay, he said gently. Everything is okay now. The word spread quickly. The humans had fixed the ship. The humans had saved them. The crew's fear began to transform into something else. Confusion, gratitude, and the first hints of shame. Found Commander Park on the bridge, studying the navigation charts. The human looked up as entered. Captain, good news about the repairs. Yes, walked closer. Your people have given us our lives back. I don't know how to thank you. No thanks needed. This is what we do. Stood beside the human, looking at the same star charts. From this angle she could see Park's face clearly. It was a tired face. A face that had seen many difficult things, but it was not a cruel face. Commander, may I ask you something personal? Of course. When you received our distress signal, did you hesitate? Did you consider not coming? Park turned to face her fully. No, not for a second. But you didn't know who we were. We could have been dangerous. The human laughed softly. Captain, we're humans. Everyone thinks we're the dangerous ones. When we see someone in trouble, we help. It's that simple. But why? What do you gain? Park was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain. On Earth, long ago, humans lived in small groups. If someone was in danger, the group helped them. If the group didn't help, the person died and the group became weaker. Helping each other is how we survived. It's written into our nature. Even helping strangers. Especially strangers, because today's stranger might be tomorrow's ally. Park smiled. Besides, what kind of people would we be if we let a ship full of innocent people die when we could save them? Felt something shift inside her. For her entire life she had believed that humans were monsters. That belief had been as solid as stone. Now cracks were forming in that stone. We were taught to fear you, she admitted. We were told you were mindless killers, that you destroyed everything you touched. Park's smile faded. I know, we've heard the stories too. We know what other species say about us. She looked out the viewport at the stars. It hurts sometimes, knowing that our reputation walks ahead of us, that people see us and feel only terror. Why would anyone spread such lies? That, Park said quietly, is a longer story, one for another time perhaps. A small sound made them both turn. Stood in the doorway, her newly casted arm held carefully against her body. She was looking at Commander Park with wide eyes. "Hello, little one," Park said gently. Took a hesitant step forward, then another. She walked past the navigation console until she stood directly in front of the human commander. "Are you the leader?" asked. "I am." "The medic man, he fixed my arm. He was nice to me." Park knelt down, bringing herself closer to the child's level. "I'm glad. He's a good person. He said he would come back, will he? He always keeps his promises." Studied the human's face for a long moment. Then she nodded, as if reaching an important conclusion. "I don't think you're monsters," she said. "Monsters don't fix arms and keep promises." For a moment, Commander Park's eyes grew bright with emotion. She blinked it away quickly. "Thank you," she said. "That means more than you know." The ship was stable now, but they still had hours before reaching safety. Found herself sitting with Commander Park in the small eating area, sharing emergency rations. The human food was strange, thick bars that tasted like nuts and honey, but it was warm in her stomach. "You asked earlier why anyone would spread lies about us," Park said. "Do you still want to know?" Nodded. She needed to understand. Park took a deep breath. "When humans first entered the galactic community, we were young and naive. We thought everyone would welcome us. We were wrong." "What happened?" "The Dominion happened." Park's expression hardened at the name. "They control a large section of the galaxy. They rule through fear and trade through exploitation. When they heard about humans, about our strength, our endurance, our numbers, they became afraid." "Afraid? They are one of the most powerful species in the galaxy." "Powerful through cruelty. They enslave weaker species. They strip planets of resources. They destroy anyone who challenges them." Park met's eyes. "And then they heard about a species from a death world, a species that could survive almost anything, a species that protected its weak instead of abandoning them, a species that might actually stand against rule." "Began to understand. They saw you as a threat." "Exactly. But they couldn't attack us directly. We were too strong even then. So they did something smarter. They spread stories, propaganda. They told every species in the galaxy that humans were monsters, mindless killers, animals in intelligent form. The stories we were taught. All started with they poisoned the galaxy against us before we could make a single friend. By the time we realized what was happening, the damage was done. Every species in the galaxy was terrified of us. Felt sick. Her entire childhood, filled with nightmares about, had been built on lies. Lies told by slavers to protect their power. We've spent decades trying to change our reputation," Park continued. "We answer every distress call we can reach. We trade fairly. We never attack first. But fear is harder to erase than truth." That is deeply wrong." "It is, but we don't blame species like yours. You believed what you were told. Everyone does." Looked at her cold meal. "My people would be dead right now if not for you. And our whole lives, we have hated you for no reason." "Not for no reason, for a reason that was given to you by others." Park put a gentle hand on the table between them, not touching but offering connection. "You were a victim of the two. You just didn't know it." In the cargo bay had become shadow. Wherever the medic went, the small child followed. He checked on injured crew members. She watched. He organized supplies. She handed him items. When he sat down to rest, she sat beside him. The other watched this with amazement. A child of their species, voluntarily spending time with a human. It seemed impossible. "Why do you follow me?" asked her with a kind smile. Thought about it carefully. "Because you're warm." "Warm?" "When you fixed my arm, your hands were warm. Not cold like hands. Warm and safe." Blinked. Humans had higher body temperatures than most species, a result of their high metabolism. He had never thought of it as a comfort to others. "And you're not scared of anything," added. "The engine room was hot and dangerous, and you went inside anyway. You're brave." Everyone gets scared sometimes, little one. Even humans. Especially humans. We feel fear just like anyone else. We've just learned to do things even when we're afraid. Absorb this information with serious eyes. My parents died in the explosion. I was very scared. I'm still scared. His expression filled with gentle sorrow. I'm sorry about your parents. It's okay, the captain says they're with the stars now. She looked up at him. Do humans go to the stars when they die? Some of us believe that, others believe different things, but I think the people we love stay with us in here. He touched his chest over his heart. Mimicked the gesture, putting her small hand over her own heart. In here. In here. In the engine room, and Bora were monitoring the temporary repairs together. The fear between them had faded, replaced by a cautious respect. I have never seen someone survive conditions like that, Bora admitted. You were in there for so long. Shrugged, training helps. Our bodies can adapt to extreme conditions if we push them gradually. Heat, cold, low oxygen. We can handle more than we look like we can. On we would die, we are, what is the word, fragile. Different, not fragile. I saw how you kept this ship running with almost nothing. That takes intelligence and creativity. Those are strengths too. Bora's ears lifted slightly, a sign of pleasure. You are kind to say so. I'm honest, they built a beautiful ship, clean design, efficient systems. If this reactor hadn't failed, you would have been fine. Paused. Speaking of which, do you know why it failed? Bora hesitated. We thought it was age, old components breaking down. Can I show you something? Led her to a section of the engine that had been badly damaged. She pointed at a specific component, a metal cylinder that had melted and warped. This is your main power coupling, the one that started the chain reaction. Yes. Look at this damage pattern, trace the melted edges. This wasn't age or wear, this was sabotage. Bora's blood went cold. What? Someone planted a device here. Small, probably undetectable by your scanners. It was designed to overload at a specific time. But who would do such a thing? We are just miners. We carry no valuable cargo. His expression was grim. Who owns the mining company you work for? The company is. We are contracted by. Bora's voice trailed off as the realization hit her. The nodded. They're known for eliminating ships when they become more expensive to maintain than replace. Your crew, your cargo, probably insured for more than the cost of keeping you running. Bora felt like she might collapse. Her people had been marked for death by their own employers, killed for profit, and if not for the humans. She looked at with new eyes. You saved us from them. The monsters who want us dead are not you. They are the ones who pay us. They have been playing this game for centuries. They destroy lives and blame others for the destruction. Humans know this better than anyone. An alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. Proximity alert, Bora said, rushing to a console. Ships approaching, multiple contacts. Was already on her communication device. Commander Park, we have incoming vessels. What's their status? Park's voice came back tight and controlled. 12 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Design. Bora's hands trembled as she read the data. Raiders, raiders. His eyes narrowed. They came to finish the job. On the bridge, Commander Park stood calmly, watching the enemy ships on the. They were closing fast, weapons powered. 12 raiders against 3 human ships and 1 damaged cargo vessel. The communication system crackled with an incoming signal. Park opened the channel. A voice spoke, harsh, arrogant, dripping with contempt. Human vessels, this is Commander of the Dominion. You are interfering with Dominion property. The ship and its crew belong to us. Surrender them now and we will let you leave. Park's expression did not change. They are not property, they're people, and they're under our protection. Laughed, protection, 3 ships against 12, you are stupid as well as ugly. Perhaps, but I'll give you one warning out of courtesy. Leave now and no one has to die today. Another laugh. I'll enjoy tearing your ships apart. The channel closed. Park turned to her crew. Her voice was calm, steady, and absolutely certain. Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat. Today we show them what really are. The raiders moved into attack formation. They were confident, 12 ships against 3. The math was simple. The outcome was certain. They were wrong. Commander Park issued her orders with calm precision. The 3 human ships broke formation, each moving in a different direction. The raiders tried to track them, but the human vessels were faster than they expected. Much faster. First volley, Park commanded. Target their weapon systems. The human ships fired in perfect synchronization. Beams of concentrated energy lanced through space, striking the raiders with devastating accuracy. 2 ships lost their main weapons in the first 3 seconds of battle. On the bridge of the gentle current, watched Thea in stunned silence. She had never seen ships move like that. Human pilots pushed their vessels to limits that would kill crews, turning at angles that seemed impossible, accelerating at speeds that should crush bodies. "How are they doing this?" she whispered. Stood nearby, monitoring the battle on a portable device. "Human reflexes and endurance. Our pilots can handle forces that would knock most species unconscious, and our ships are built for it." A raider exploded in a ball of fire, then another. The enemy commander's voice crackled over the open channel, no longer arrogant. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead human vessel. Destroy them." The remaining raiders turned their attention to Park's ship. Weapons fire rained down like a storm. The human vessel's shields flickered under the assault. But Park did not retreat. She pushed forward directly into the enemy formation. It was insane. It was suicidal. It was exactly what human tactics called for. "They're closing to point-blank range," Bora said, watching from the engine room. "They'll be torn apart." But just smiled grimly. "Watch." Park's ship dove between 2 raiders, so close that collision seemed inevitable. At that range, the raiders couldn't fire without hitting each other. But the human ship could. It unleashed a devastating barrage from all sides, crippling both enemy vessels in a single pass. The other human ships used the chaos to strike from unexpected angles. They moved like predators, always attacking, never giving the enemy time to recover. Finally understood why humans were called. They didn't fight like civilized species. They fought like creatures from a world where hesitation meant death, where aggression and speed were the difference between survival and extinction. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, 9 ships drifted dead in space. 3 more fled at maximum speed, their engines screaming as they ran from the nightmare they had awakened. Commander Park's voice came through the communication system. "Gentle current, are you safe?" Had to try twice before she could speak. We are safe." "Good, we're coming back to escort you to the station. Those raiders won't try again." The crew of the Gentle Current stood in shocked silence. They had just watched 3 ships destroy a fleet of 12. They had seen the earn their name. But this time, the name meant something different. When the human soldiers returned to the Gentle Current, the atmosphere had changed. They no longer pressed themselves against walls or hid from the giants. They stood and watched with new eyes, eyes filled with awe and gratitude. Ran to as soon as she saw him. She crashed into his leg and hugged it tightly. The medic laughed and gently patted her head. "I watched the battle," she said. "You beat the bad people." "We did. They wanted to hurt us, but you stopped them." Knelt down to her level. "We will always stop them. That's what we do." Approached Commander Park. The human's face showed signs of exhaustion. The battle had been short but intense. Yet she still smiled when she saw the captain. "Commander," said formally, "on behalf of my crew and my people, I offer you our deepest gratitude. You have saved our lives twice today. We can never repay this debt. There is no debt. Helping people in danger is its own reward. Nevertheless, I must ask, what happens now, when the galaxy hears that humans fought thee over a ship? Park nodded. It will cause problems, they will be angry, they'll spread more lies about us, more stories about human aggression. They attacked you, you defended yourselves and us. Truth doesn't matter to they control what most species believe, Park shrugged, but we're used to it. Made a decision that would change her life, her people, and perhaps the galaxy itself. I will tell the truth, she said firmly. When we reach the station, I will tell everyone what really happened, how they tried to kill us for money, how they sabotaged our ship, how they spread lies about humans for centuries. I will tell them everything. Park's eyes widened. Captain, that's dangerous. They won't forgive you. I don't care. My people have lived in fear of the wrong enemy our whole lives. We hated you, feared you, taught our children to hate and fear you. And all along, our real enemies were the ones we trusted. She looked at her crew, at the children who were no longer hiding, at the adults who were standing tall, at who clung to like he was her own family. No more lies, no more fear. They will know the truth about humans, and perhaps in time other species will learn the truth too. Commander Park looked at her for a long moment. Then she extended her hand, a human gesture of agreement and respect. Reached up and took it. The human's hand was warm and strong. It could have crushed her easily. Instead, it held her gently. Then perhaps this is the beginning of something new, Park said. I hope so, Commander. I truly hope so. The journey to the station took 10 hours. In that time, something remarkable happened, and humans talked, shared meals, exchanged stories. The walls built by generations of propaganda began to crumble. Bora learned human engineering techniques that would revolutionize her career, taught Private a children's game, and Bora exchanged communication codes, promising to stay in touch, and refused to leave side. When the station finally appeared on the mood on the gentle current was bittersweet. They were going home, but they would be leaving their new friends behind. Will I see you again? Asked, her eyes filling with tears. The medic smiled down at her. I don't know, the universe is very big. But you said you keep your promises. Promise you'll find me again. Hesitated. Making a promise like that to a child was dangerous. Space was vast. Life was unpredictable. They might never cross paths again. But looking into those hopeful eyes, he found he couldn't refuse. I promise, someday somehow I'll find you again. Hugged him one last time. I'll wait for you. The docking process began. The airlock doors opened. It was time to say goodbye. Stood at the entrance with Commander Park. Around them, crew members exchanged final words with the human soldiers who had saved them. Thank you, said simply, for everything. Thank you, Park replied, for being brave enough to see the truth. Not everyone is. They shook hands once more. Then the humans were gone, walking back to their ships, leaving them to continue their journey alone. Stood at the viewport, watching the human vessels pull away. Stood at the viewport of his own ship looking back. He raised his hand in a small wave. She waved back. The human ships turned and accelerated, disappearing into the darkness between stars. They watched until the last light faded. Put a gentle hand on shoulder. Come, little one, we have much to do. Captain, will the galaxy really believe us about the humans? Looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there the truth was spreading. Stories were changing. Fear was transforming into curiosity. I don't know, she admitted. But today, 23 learned that everything they believed was wrong. If we could learn, others can too. She guided toward the station entrance. The galaxy was warned about said softly. They just had the warning backwards. They aren't the monsters. They're the ones who protect us from monsters. Behind them, the stars glittered like promises. And somewhere among them, 3 human ships flew on to the next emergency, the next call for help, the next chance to prove that strength and kindness could exist in the same heart. The universe was vast and often cruel, but sometimes, when disaster struck and hope seemed lost, an SOS went out into the darkness. And sometimes they answered,